We can never really know what another person is thinking or feeling, but that story is meant to offer one possible glimpse at what it might be like to have dementia. Listening to the story, you probably sense the person's fear and anxiety and the desire to understand the world and what was happening. But let's switch thought patterns for just a moment. Instead of thinking about the fear of the person in the story, think about how you would want to be treated if you were diagnosed with dementia. You would probably like for those around you to listen to you, really listen, not just pretend, and ask you questions about what you're thinking or feeling. You'd probably like people to recognize that you are still capable of doing a lot for yourself and for others. You would probably like for those around you to be patient and give you the extra time it takes to do things independently as much as possible. You'd probably like to make as many decisions and choices on your own as possible. You'd probably like the chance to state your opinion and give advice just like you always have. And to have those around you, those who love you, treat you the same way they did before your memory loss. You would probably like to do as many of the same fun, enjoyable things, or parts of those things, that you always have. You would probably like to follow familiar routines as much as possible. And to spend time with people who make you feel good, doing things that you enjoy doing. You'd probably like people to know that deep down you're still the same old you they always knew. You just need some help remembering sometimes. You would want people to acknowledge your strengths, not just your losses. You'd probably want to use the skills you have for as long as you are able. While dementia does cause memory loss and affects orientation and communication, people with dementia still retain many talents and abilities, especially in the early stages of the disease. It is absolutely crucial that we, as partners in care, recognize each person's individual strengths and work with family caregivers and others involved in people's care to provide opportunities for the person to use those strengths as often as possible. The best way to do this is to learn as much as possible about the person with dementia. While this can be a challenge, if you're speaking with a person over the phone especially, it is still possible. Later in this training, we'll talk more about specific questions you can ask if you suspect a person may have dementia, as well as questions you can ask to help determine whether he or she is safe. For now, however, it's important that you remember to be patient and give people the time to communicate their thoughts and feelings, to speak slowly and clearly and avoid long, complicated sentences, to avoid slang such as hop in the car that a person might have difficulty understanding, to speak to people with dignity and respect at all times, to use the same tone of voice you would use when speaking to a good friend, to try to connect with consumers with dementia on a personal level whenever possible. And remember, don't underestimate a person's ability to understand because he or she may have memory loss or difficulty finding words. In summary, you want to offer support without pressure. In fact, people with dementia often retain many of their social skills far into the disease process. The exception to this is people who experience frontal lobe types of dementia and lose social skills early in their disease process. For those not experiencing frontal lobe dementias, one of the best things we can do, and that we can encourage families to do, is to emphasize the importance of the person with dementia to remain as social as possible and to stay involved in meaningful activities within his or her community. After all, the need to reach out to others and to be part of the world never really goes away, no matter how confused a person may become. Research has shown that positive social interaction, also called social support, is beneficial to a person's mental and physical health, while negative interactions, those that hurt a person's feelings or cause them emotional harm, are very damaging to a person's health. Thus, when communicating with a person living with dementia, It's important to try to find ways to communicate and connect with the person in ways that make that person feel good, and to avoid interactions that leave the person feeling frustrated, more confused, or excluded.